Hi everyone, this is Renee, and it looks like I finally figured out how to do this thing. So let's take a look at what's going on. I'm here at irastro.com. irastro.com. It's a professional astrology website that I run that features my efforts in astrology, my work. And I wanted to show you a new page, some new coding I did. If you go to resources up top and drop down to personality trait predictor, that's the page I'm on right now. And what this is a big five personality trait predictor based only on anonymous birth data. Yeah. So there is something called the big five personality traits. They are extraversion, agreeableness, conscientiousness, neuroticism, and openness to experience. I think there were some other models, some based on uh, six traits, some based on three traits, etc. This big five personality trait idea is used throughout industry, throughout sort of for schools, for jobs, where they try to assess these five traits in your personality. It's pretty widely accepted, at least more or less, as much as anything in science is accepted. I think, especially in such a roiling, broiling kind of field as psychology, this is the big five. And so, once again, the big five comprise of five personality traits: extraversion, which just means are you outgoing, energetic versus more solitary or reserved. I think most people have a sense of themselves as being either an extrovert or introvert, no problem. But some of the other traits might be a little bit more uh, difficult. So, for example, agreeableness. Are you agreeable? Are you agreeable? And that simply only means are you more friendly, compassionate versus analytical, or detached? Similarly, conscientiousness doesn't mean you're a good person versus a bad person. It just means are you more efficient, organized versus easygoing or careless? Neuroticism, sensitive and nervous versus secure and confident. That's all it means. And similarly, open. Are you open to experience? Simply means are you more inventive or curious versus someone else who might be more consistent or cautious. No good or bad here. This is just meant to be a kind of taxonomy to personality, to personality qualities. Neither thing is good or bad. It's not better or worse to be an extrovert than an introvert, and similarly vice versa. So the amazing thing is, once again, these big five traits are used everywhere, and we were wondering about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, at this point, no, only a year, about a year and a half ago, I started a project wanting to see if astrology could be mapped onto these big five traits, and in fact, using machine learning, or what some people call AI, can the computer learn what astrology traits are more apt to convey this or that personality trait. So, what astrology conveys what personality is something that has been asked about forever, right? As long as astrology has been used, and there's uh, evidence that it's been used for times longer ago than the Egyptian pyramids were built. So very long ago, 5,000 plus years ago. Does astrology convey or map onto a personality? this is just the latest or most kind of recent um, iteration of that basic fundamental question. Well, let's see what we see. Let me refresh this before I page down. All right, here we go. And then there's also a downloadable PDF that shows some science of what has happened in the past year and a half to suggest that the answer pretty much is yeah. Yeah. Astrology does convey knowledge about personality. Personality does convey knowledge about astrology. Amazing. And astrology, what I mean by that is the astronomy at the time of your birth. All right. So here's, if you go down the page, there's a bit more information. I'll read it out loud because why not? Are you at all curious what birth astronomy, when combined with with artificial intelligence, AI, might have to say about your personality? Welcome to the world's first applied astrology application. And it's true, this web page is the first applied astrology application out there that uses AI. At least the first we could find. The first thing to come out was this. There's since, only in the past year, there's since been some other really cool stuff coming out. But this was the first one, this humble little webpage. So let's see what else it holds. Okay. It uses natal astronomy at the time of your birth, but not your ascendant. Enter your birth data to receive your astrological Big Five inventory estimation in about 60 seconds. So there's a lot going on in those 60 seconds. It's not being loose or poorly coded or something. There's a ton of math happening all throughout those 60 seconds. And I wish it were fewer seconds, smaller amount of time that it's going to take from your life to give you the answer. But that's how long it takes right now. All right, if you do not know your time, enter the closest value on noon. Click if you agree that you are any of the 5 traits, and that is it. Mark OK to retain if you want the AI to retain the anonymous info to improve itself. Either way, the next page will show whether the artificial intelligence agrees with you. Absolutely no record of your entry is retained by us unless you want to let the AI retain it. Your identity is never used. Please, it is very important that you read more about the Big Five personality traits, for example, at Wikipedia, to see what extraversion, agreeableness, conscientiousness, neuroticism, and openness officially technically mean. Not sort of just casually, but technically, before filling out this page. And once again, if you're short on time, you can just page up here to the section in bold where it says, once again, extraversion is outgoing, energetic versus solitary, reserved. Agreeableness is friendly, compassionate versus analytical, detached. Conscientiousness is efficient, organized versus easygoing and careless. Neuroticism is sensitive, nervous versus secure and confident. So it's not better or worse to be neurotic versus not neurotic in this technical definition. Openness to experience means simply inventive, curious versus consistent and cautious. So I think most people have a sense of who they are with regard to these 5 traits. So let's start entering some data. I'm going to make up a person. Let's say they were born on January 11th, 2010. Now, something to note here is that you don't want to just put in 1/11/10 or even 1/11/2010. You need to spell out January 11th because there could be some ambiguity. Somebody in Europe, for example, might be born November 1st, 2010. And there, in Europe versus the United States, there's they put the day first and then the month. So you can see how there can be ambiguity if you do not spell out the month. So please do that. Birth time, I'm just going to bring up 8 a.m. and just make something up. Birth city, I'm in Boulder, Colorado right now. So let's use Boulder, Colorado. And let's say I'm all of these things. I'm an extrovert, I'm agreeable, I'm conscientious, I'm neurotic, which once again just means I'm sensitive, more of a sensitive sort, and I'm open to experiences. And let's say I'm being magnanimous, and I click on OK to retain. And that will let everyone after you have a better experience because there'll be more data, more correct data for their personality estimations than if you had not clicked on OK to retain. But since this is a completely made up person, I'm not going to click on OK to retain because that will mess up the AI database with false information. So please only click on OK to retain if it's real live, sort of honest information. Thank you. So let's click on submit. And here's where the 60 seconds starts. And you can see down here, I don't know if you can see it on the YouTube video, but you can see in the lower left-hand corner that it says waiting for www.wolframcloud.com. This is coded in Wolfram Mathematica and it's uploaded using their servers. So that's why it says wolframcloud.com. What else did I say? Oh yeah, I'm going to show you after we're done on this page. I'll show you some of the coding, and you can see exactly why it is that it's taking 60 seconds, and all the good stuff that's going on underneath. So you're going to see in the lower left hand that waiting for www.wolframcloud.com for a whole 60 seconds, and then a new page will pop up. Here it is. Great. So I wanted to explain these results. Basically, in the circles are what the computer, the machine learning, estimates that you are based on your birth astronomy. So it estimates that I'm agreeable, I'm conscientious, I'm open, I'm introverted, and I am not neurotic. Now, if I agree with those things, then there's going to be a black circle. If it's in conflict with what I estimated myself to be, then it'll be a red circle. Okay? So pretty cool. You can sort of see your sense of self and how that might change or not. And then you can maybe you're asking yourself, well, how accurate is this thing anyway? The below section is for you. It has in blue the distribution of results if data is randomly fed into the system. Like if we completely randomize the data, just jumble it up and throw it into the very same system, how accurate is it? I mean, or what's the expected hit rate of actually getting the right answer? So let's start up here at the top with agreeableness. And we can see the blue is a very thin band, but when the data is randomly entered into the system, then we get this spread, this thin spread, a distribution, it's called, of accuracy rates. Well, what about with people putting in the real data? How accurate is that? If there's nothing to astronomy, birth astronomy, as an indicator of personality, which is to say, if there's nothing to astrology with regard to predicting personality, then there should be no difference between randomized, totally jumbled up birth information and the accuracy that comes out of it, that comes out of the computer. Which is to say, there would be no difference between this orange dashed line, which is the actual accuracy rate, and the blue distribution. But there is. To a scientist's eye, they will recognize that this orange dashed line is really actually way off the blue curve. Even though it's a very thin blue curve, that is sufficient to put a p-value at 0.001. Statistical significance is defined to be 0.05. So this 0.001 p-value is statistically significant. It is a big deal, even for this thin distribution of accuracy, which is just to say one random jumbling is the same as another random jumbling in predictive power. So agreeableness actually is showing statistical significance. Now check out conscientiousness. That's the one that comes next. The blue and the orange are there. The orange is so far off of the blue curve that the p-value is tiny. I think it's something times 10 to the -9 or something. Tiny p-value. And again, n is like 1279. You can see all the data in digital format, in number format down here. So n is actually pretty decent. I mean, it's at 1200, 1247 in fact. So openness, p-value, there isn't, you can see the orange is within the blue distribution, making the p-value huge, 0.212. That is to say, it is not statistically significant at this time that this system, this web page, can predict openness as a personality trait. Or at least there is no statistically significant difference between his prediction of you as an open or not open person, which again you can see in the third circle what it says you are, and random input, or just jumbling up a bunch of data and calling you open or not open based on that. So in other words, this web page at this time is not particularly helpful for discerning openness or non-openness as a personality trait. But check this out. Neuroticism, orange dashed line, is far enough separate from the blue distribution. The p-value is back down to being far less than 0.05. It's actually 0.001. Extraversion. Oh, and these values, by the way, these graphs and these p-values and their associated numerical values down below are calculated fresh with each run of the program. Okay. So, where were we? Neuroticism is showing some predictive utility compared to jumbled nonsense anyway. That's saying something. There are many people out there who are saying that astronomy, birth astronomy, which is to say astrology, is nonsense, is no better than jumbled input for predictive power. This data is showing no, that's not true. There is something to astrology. So that's why I thought I'd do this whole little web series. I thought it'd be useful for you if I walk through how cool this is. Extraversion, extrovert, introvert, long been a subject of astrology debate, astrology discussion. That if you go through the history of astrology, uh, almost the definitive astrology research is always on extroversion and introversion. The idea being that if you put 20 Aries people in a room with 20 Pisces people, anyone in the right mind is going to be able to tell, okay, you're an Aries and you're a Pisces, and and that there's something fundamentally different between the so-called masculine or odd numbered signs and even or more feminine energies. That this is like a distinct, fundamental difference, maybe the first of many, many binaries that get constructed in learning and doing astrology. So, at the very least, we could hope for this website to be helpful in telling whether a person is extroverted or not. This again goes way back in the history of astrology. So, what shakes? What actually happens? P-value 0.004. Once again, statistical significance. We just need it under 0.05. This is smaller than 1/10 of that. This is a small p-value. So yeah, this is kind of big news. I think it's. I mean, I don't. I'd like to understand why someone would say it's not big news. This is big news. This is showing that extraversion and neuroticism and conscientiousness and agreeableness, which is to say 4 out of the 5 of the big 5 personality traits can be effectively predicted based on a person's birth astronomy. Wow. Tell me what you think. Thank you.